I, 32F, have always been close to my niece, Emily, 9F. My brother, Mark, 38M, is a single dad who has been raising Emily on his own since his wife, Sarah, passed away 5 years ago. Our family has never been the same since we lost Sarah. She was the glue that held us all together, always organizing family gatherings and mediating conflicts. Her loss hit Mark the hardest, leading him to navigate single parenthood while dealing with his grief. Growing up, Mark and I were never particularly close. He was the serious, studious older brother, while I was more laid back and social. Our differences often led to conflicts, but Sarah's presence in our family helped bridge the gap between us. After she passed, I made a conscious effort to be there for Mark and Emily, often babysitting and spending quality time with my niece. Mark has always been health conscious, a trait he inherited from our mother who was a nutritionist. However, over the past few years, his obsession with clean eating has reached extreme levels. It started gradually after Sarah's death. At first, we all thought it was just his way of coping with the loss and ensuring Emily stayed healthy. But as time went on, his restrictions became increasingly severe. Now, Mark forbids anything he deems unhealthy, which includes most processed foods, sugar, and even certain fruits he considers too high in natural sugars. Emily's school lunches are meticulously prepared with organic, low-fat, sugar-free options. Birthday parties at school are a nightmare for her, as she's not allowed to partake in any of the treats her classmates enjoy. I've always tried to respect Mark's parenting choices, remembering how hard it must be for him to raise Emily alone. But I can't help feeling that his restrictions are too severe. Emily never gets to enjoy treats that other kids her age do, and I worry about how this might affect her relationship with food as she grows older. Last weekend, Emily stayed at my place while Mark was out of town for a work conference. It was her birthday, and I decided to throw her a small surprise party. I invited a few of her friends from school and baked a chocolate cake, something Emily had never had before. I remember how Sarah used to make the most delicious chocolate cakes for our birthdays, and it broke my heart that Emily had never experienced that joy. The party was a hit. Emily was overjoyed, and for the first time, I saw her truly let loose and enjoy herself without constantly worrying about what she was eating. We had pizza, chips, and soda, all things that are usually off-limits for her. Emily kept saying it was the best birthday she'd ever had. Seeing her so happy reminded me of the carefree little girl she used to be before Sarah passed away and Mark's food rules took over their lives. The trouble started when Mark returned early from his conference and came to pick up Emily. He walked in just as we were finishing up a game of pin the tail on the donkey, with half-eaten slices of cake and empty chip bags scattered around. The look on his face was a mixture of shock, anger, and betrayal. Mark was furious. He demanded to know what I was thinking, feeding Emily poison and undoing all his hard work. I tried to explain that it was just for her birthday, that Sarah would have wanted Emily to enjoy her special day, but he wouldn't listen. He called me irresponsible and accused me of trying to undermine his parenting. Things escalated quickly. I told Mark that he was being unreasonable and that his extreme diet restrictions were going to give Emily issues with food later in life. I mentioned that I'd noticed Emily becoming anxious around mealtimes and obsessing over ingredient lists, behaviors that worried me. I reminded him of how Sarah used to emphasize balance in all aspects of life, including diet. Mark exploded. He said I had no right to criticize his parenting or bring Sarah into this. He accused me of never understanding their relationship and trying to replace Sarah in Emily's life. His words stung, bringing up old insecurities about my place in the family. He grabbed Emily's things and stormed out, telling me not to expect to see them anytime soon. Emily looked back at me with tears in her eyes as Mark ushered her out the door. The sight of her distress broke my heart. It's been a week and Mark isn't returning my calls or texts. Emily managed to sneak a call to me yesterday, saying she misses me and thanking me again for the party. She also mentioned that Mark has become even stricter with her diet since the incident, going so far as to pack her snacks for playdates. I'm torn. I know I overstepped by going against Mark's wishes, but I truly believe his approach to food is harmful. Emily is a healthy, active child with no medical issues requiring such a restricted diet. I'm worried about the long-term effects this could have on her physical and emotional well-being. Part of me wonders if I should have approached this differently. Maybe I should have talked to Mark about my concerns before throwing the party. But another part of me feels that Emily deserved to have one day where she could just be a normal kid. I can't help but think about what Sarah would say if she could see how things are now. She always emphasized the importance of balance and enjoying life's little pleasures. I feel like I'm caught between honoring her memory and respecting Mark's parenting choices. Our parents have stayed out of it so far, not wanting to take sides. But I'm considering reaching out to them for advice. I'm worried that if this continues, we might lose the tight-knit family dynamic that Sarah worked so hard to foster. Ida for letting Emily have junk food at her birthday party and standing up to my brother about his extreme health obsession? Should I have handled this differently? I'm at a loss for what to do next and could really use some outside perspective. Update when it's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation and gave me the courage to take action. After my brother Mark cut off contact, I was really worried about Emily. I couldn't shake the feeling that something needed to be done. The image of Emily's tearful face as Mark dragged her away from the birthday party haunted me. I decided to reach out to our parents and our older sister, Lisa, 40F, to discuss the situation. To provide some context, our family has always been close-knit, but we've had our share of challenges. Our parents, both in their 60s, have always tried to maintain a neutral stance in conflicts between us siblings. Dad is a retired high school principal, known for his level-headedness, while Mom is a former nutritionist who instilled in us the importance of healthy eating from a young age. Lisa, our older sister, is a child psychologist. She's always been the peacemaker in the family, often mediating our squabbles when we were younger. When Sarah passed away, Lisa was instrumental in helping Mark and Emily through their grief, providing both professional and familial support. To my surprise, when I reached out to them, they admitted they had also been concerned about Mark's extreme approach to Emily's diet but hadn't wanted to interfere. Mom, in particular, felt guilty, wondering if her emphasis on nutrition during our childhood had contributed to Mark's current obsession. After a long family discussion, we agreed that an intervention was necessary, not just for Emily's sake, but for Mark's as well. We reminisced about Sarah and how she would have handled this situation. Sarah had always been the one to bring balance to our family dynamics, and we all felt her absence keenly in this moment. We planned a family dinner at our parents' house and invited Mark and Emily. Mark was hesitant at first, but our mom convinced him it was just a regular family get-together. She promised to prepare all of Mark's approved foods, which seemed to ease his mind. The day of the dinner arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. Mark and Emily arrived last, and I could see the wariness in Mark's eyes as he looked at me. Emily, on the other hand, seemed excited to see everyone, though she kept close to Mark's side. Dinner started off awkwardly. Mark barely touched the food, scrutinizing every dish despite Mom's assurances that she had followed his guidelines. Emily, on the other hand, seemed excited by the variety but kept looking to Mark for approval before eating anything. The rest of us tried to keep the conversation light, reminiscing about family vacations and sharing updates about our lives. After dinner, as we moved to the living room for coffee, herbal tea for Mark and Emily, we decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. Dad started by expressing how much he admired Mark's dedication to being a good father, but gently suggested that perhaps his approach to Emily's diet had become too extreme. Mark immediately became defensive, stating that he was only doing what was best for Emily's health. He brought up statistics about childhood obesity and the dangers of processed foods. It was clear that his fear of losing Emily, like he lost Sarah, was driving his behavior. Lisa, putting on her child psychologist hat, explained the potential psychological impacts of such strict food rules on children. She talked about the risk of developing unhealthy relationships with food and body image issues later in life. She shared stories from her practice about adults who struggled with eating disorders rooted in overly restrictive childhoods. I shared my observations about Emily's anxiety around food and her excitement at the birthday party. I apologized for going behind Mark's back but emphasized that I was worried about Emily's well-being. Mark didn't take it well at first. He accused us of ganging up on him and tried to leave. But then Emily, who had been quietly listening to the adults talk, spoke up. Her small voice cut through the tension as she told Mark that she was always hungry at school because her lunch wasn't filling enough. She admitted to sometimes trading her healthy snacks for her friends' junk food because she felt left out. She said she loved her dad but wished she could eat normal food sometimes, like her friends did. The room fell silent as Emily's words sank in. Mark looked shocked, as if he was truly seeing the impact of his rules for the first time. Mom started to cry softly, and Dad put a comforting arm around her. Seeing Emily open up seemed to shake something in Mark. For the first time since Sarah's death, he actually listened to our concerns without getting defensive. He admitted that his fixation on clean eating had intensified after losing Sarah, as a way of trying to protect Emily from any harm. He confessed to being terrified of making a mistake in raising Emily and letting Sarah down. This admission opened up a deeply emotional conversation about grief, fear, and the challenges of single parenthood. We all shared memories of Sarah, acknowledging how much we missed her and how proud she would be of both Mark and Emily. Through tears and hugs, We suggested that Mark speak to a nutritionist and a family therapist to find a more balanced approach to healthy eating. We emphasized that we weren't asking him to abandon his health-conscious approach entirely, but to find a middle ground that would be healthier for both him and Emily in the long run. To our relief, Mark agreed to consider it. He admitted that he had been so focused on physical health that he might have overlooked Emily's emotional well-being. We ended the night on a cautiously optimistic note. Mark agreed to weekly family dinners where Emily could eat a wider variety of foods, and he promised to consult professionals about developing a more balanced meal plan for her. As they were leaving, Emily hugged me tightly, whispering a thank you. The look of relief on her face made all the family tension worth it. Mark gave me a nod, not quite ready for full reconciliation, but it was a start. I'm hopeful that this is a step in the right direction. I know we have a long way to go, but at least now the issue is out in the open, and we can work on it as a family. Sarah always believed in the healing power of family, and I like to think she was there with us that night, guiding us towards understanding and reconciliation. I'll keep you updated on how things progress. Thanks again for all your support and advice. It really made a difference in giving me the courage to address this issue head-on. Update 2. It's been another 2 months since my last update, and I wanted to share the progress we've made, as well as some unexpected challenges that have come up. The good news first, Mark has been seeing a nutritionist and a family therapist, as we suggested. The nutritionist, Dr. Rodriguez, has been working with Mark to develop a more balanced meal plan for Emily. She's helped him understand the importance of variety in a child's diet and has introduced the concept of sometimes foods rather than outright banning certain items. The family therapist, Dr. Chen, has been working with both Mark and Emily to address the underlying anxiety and control issues related to food. She's also been helping Mark process his grief over Sarah's death in healthier ways. Emily's diet has improved significantly. She's now allowed to have pizza on Fridays, and Mark has even started baking healthier versions of cookies and cakes with her as a bonding activity. It's been heartwarming to see them in the kitchen together, laughing and making memories, just like Sarah used to do with Emily. Our weekly family dinners have continued, and they've become a positive experience for everyone. Mark is slowly learning to relax his control over Emily's eating habits, and Emily is enjoying trying new foods without fear. Last week, she tried spaghetti and meatballs for the first time and declared it her new favorite food. However, we've hit a bit of a snag recently. About 2 weeks ago, Emily had her first sleepover at her best friend Sophia's house since Mark started relaxing the food rules. Sophia's parents, knowing about Emily's previous dietary restrictions, decided to let the girls have a junk food party to celebrate Emily's new food freedom. Apparently, excited by her newfound food freedom and the novelty of the situation, Emily overindulged in snacks and soda, making herself sick. She ended up with a terrible stomachache and threw up in the middle of the night. Sophia's mom called Mark to come pick Emily up early in the morning. When Mark arrived and saw Emily pale and miserable, he was beside himself with worry and anger. He called me in a panic on the drive home, blaming me and the rest of the family for pushing him to loosen his restrictions. He yelled that this incident proved Emily couldn't handle normal food and that he had been right all along to be strict. I tried to reason with him, explaining that this was a normal part of learning moderation, and that many kids overindulge at their first sleepover. I reminded him of times when we were kids and made ourselves sick at parties. But Mark was too upset to listen. He hung up on me mid-sentence. For a few days after that, it seemed like all our progress might be undone. Mark stopped returning my calls and skipped our weekly family dinner. Emily later told me that he had gone back to his old, strict regimen, refusing to let her have any of the new food she had been enjoying. I was at a loss for what to do. I didn't want to overstep again and risk pushing Mark further away, but I was worried about Emily. I reached out to Lisa for advice, and she suggested giving Mark a little time to calm down before we approached him again. Thankfully, their family therapist, Dr. Chen, was able to have an emergency session with them. She helped Mark understand that one incident of overindulgence doesn't negate all the positive changes they've made. She worked with him on managing his anxiety and fear around food and Emily's health. Dr. Chen also worked with Emily to understand why she felt the need to eat so much at the sleepover. They talked about listening to her body's hunger and fullness cues, and about how it's okay to enjoy treats in moderation. After the session, Mark called me. He apologized for his outburst and admitted that he had overreacted out of fear. We had a long talk about the challenges of finding balance and the importance of allowing Emily to learn from her experiences, even if they're sometimes unpleasant. We're back on track now, but it's clear that this journey isn't going to be without its challenges. Mark is still struggling with his need for control, especially in situations where he's not present to monitor Emily's food intake. Emily is still learning how to navigate her new relationship with food, and there will likely be more bumps along the way. I'm trying to stay positive and supportive, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about potential backsliding. We're taking it one day at a time, celebrating small victories, and working through setbacks together as a family. One positive outcome of this incident is that it's opened up more honest communication between Mark and Emily about food. Emily felt comfortable telling Mark that she had felt pressured to eat everything at the sleepover because she was afraid she might never get the chance again. This led to a heartfelt conversation where Mark reassured her that the changes in their diet were permanent, and that she didn't need to worry about foods being taken away again. We're all learning from this experience. As a family, we've decided to be more mindful about how we introduce new foods to Emily. We're focusing on teaching her about balance and moderation rather than just giving her free rein. I'll update again if there are any major developments. Thanks for sticking with us through this journey. Your support and advice have been invaluable. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I have some surprising news to share. Our family's journey has taken an unexpected turn, but I think it's ultimately been for the better. First, let me update you on the progress we've made. Mark and Emily have continued to work with their therapist and nutritionist. Emily's relationship with food has improved dramatically. She's able to enjoy a variety of foods without anxiety, and Mark has learned to trust her to make her own choices within reason. Our family dinners have become a joyous occasion rather than a source of tension. Now, for the unexpected twist, about 2 months ago, Mark started dating again. Her name is Lily, 36F, and they met at a local farmer's market. Lily is a pastry chef who specializes in creating healthier versions of traditional desserts. At first, I was worried that this might trigger Mark's old anxieties about food, but surprisingly, it's had the opposite effect. Lily's balanced approach to indulgence has been eye-opening for Mark. She's shown him that it's possible to enjoy treats while still maintaining an overall healthy lifestyle. Mark has even started taking cooking classes with her, learning to create nutritious meals that are also delicious and satisfying. The change in Mark has been remarkable. He's more relaxed, happier, and his relationship with Emily has improved as a result. Emily adores Lily and loves helping out in the kitchen when Lily comes over to cook. It's heartwarming to see Emily excited about food again, asking questions and learning about different ingredients. Last week, we had a big family barbecue to celebrate Emily's 10th birthday. Mark and Lily worked together to create a spread that included both healthy options and treats. The highlight was a beautiful birthday cake that Lily made using whole grain flour and natural sweeteners. Emily was thrilled, and for the first time in years, Mark didn't fret about the food being served. During the party, I overheard Emily telling her friends about the different foods and their nutritional benefits, not in a restrictive way, but with genuine interest and enthusiasm. It was clear that she was developing a healthy, balanced attitude towards food. Mark pulled me aside during the party to apologize for his past behavior. He admitted that his extreme focus on clean eating had been a way to cope with the loss of Sarah and his fears of something happening to Emily. He thanked me for standing up to him and for not giving up on them. We shared a long hug, both of us teary-eyed, feeling the weight of the past few years lift off our shoulders. It hasn't all been smooth sailing, of course. There have been moments of tension, especially when Mark first started dating Lily. Emily had some initial jealousy and worry that Lily might try to replace her mom. We've all been sensitive to this, making sure to honor Sarah's memory while embracing the positive changes Lily has brought to their lives. There was also an incident where one of Mark's old health food friends criticized him for selling out and allowing Emily to eat junk. It upset Mark, but instead of retreating to his old habits, he stood his ground. He explained that he'd realized health was about more than just what you eat, it's also about joy, balance, and social connections. While things aren't perfect, and we know there might be challenges ahead, I'm incredibly proud of how far we've come as a family. Emily is growing into a confident, healthy young girl who enjoys food without fear. Mark is learning to balance his desire for a healthy lifestyle with the joy of culinary experiences. This journey has taught us all valuable lessons about balance, understanding, and the importance of addressing underlying issues. We've learned that health isn't just about what you eat, but also about mental well-being, social connections, and finding joy in life. I'm grateful for the support and advice I've received here. Your perspectives help me approach this situation with empathy and persistence. I hope our story can help others facing similar situations. Remember, change is possible, even if it takes time and patience.